श्रीपाद श्रीवल्लभत्वं सदैव श्रीदत्तास्मान् पाहि देवाधिदेव भावग्राह्य क्लेशहारिं सुकीर्ते घोरात् कष्टात् उद्धरास्मान् नमस्ते। त्वं नो माता त्वं पिता प्तोऽधिपस्त्वं त्राता योग क्षेमकृत् सद्गुरुस्त्वं त्वं सर्वस्वं नो प्रभो विश्वमूर्ते घोरात् कष्टात् उद्धरास्मान् नमस्ते। पापं तापं व्याधिमादिं च दैन्यं भीतिं क्लेशं त्वं हराशुत्वदन्यम् त्रातारन्नो वीक्ष ईशास्त्रजूर्ते घोरात् कष्टात् उद्धरास्मान् नमस्ते। नान्यस्त्राता न पिता न भर्ता त्वत्तो देव त्वं शरण्योकहर्ता कुर्वात्रेयानुग्रहं पूर्णराते घोरात् कष्टात् उद्धरास्मान् नमस्ते। धर्मे प्रीतिं सन्मतिं देवभक्तिं सत्सङ्गाप्तिं देहि भुक्तिं च मुक्तिं भावासक्तिं चाखिलानन्दमूर्ते घोरात् कष्टात् उद्धरास्मान् नमस्ते। श्लोकपञ्चकमेतद्यो लोकमङ्गलवर्धनम् प्रपठेन्नियतो भक्त्या श्रीदत्तप्रियो भवेत् श्रीदत्तप्रियो भवेत् श्रीदत्तप्रियो भवेत् श्रीदत्तप्रियो भवेत्। श्रीपादराजं शरणं प्रपद्ये। श्रीपाद श्रीवल्लभ चरितामृतम् Chapter 15. The account of Bangarappa and Sundara Rama Sharma. I took leave of Sri Dattananda Swami and continued my journey. As I felt thirsty, I went to a well nearby. There was a bucket also to draw water. When I looked down into the well, lo, a strange spectacle was in sight. A person was hanging topsy-turvy, supporting himself on the branch of a tree which grew between the circular rings of pottery of the well. That stranger called me with love, Shankara Bhatta. I asked him with wonder how he came to know my name. For that he replied, "Not merely your name. I also knew that you are going to Kurugadda for the darshana of Sri Sreepada Sreevallabha. I am only waiting to meet you." I was thinking as to how to pull him out of the well. The rope tied to the bucket was very weak. That pious person who scented my thought said, "You are a man who had fallen into the well of worldly existence with mundane bonds. I broke those bonds and remained in the bliss of soul in this peculiar yogic exercise. How can you uplift me? I get up on my own accord. If our strength is not sufficient, Sri Sreepada will kindly grant us strength." So saying, he stood by my side in the time taken for the flick of an eyelid. I was astonished. He began to tell, "My name is Bangarappa. You are thirsty. I will quench your thirst." He drew water with the bucket and was drinking it speedily. Strangely, my thirst was quenched. I was surprised. Then we began traveling together. He was saying, "I belong to a family of goldsmiths. I mastered mantras and tantras. I achieved the capacity to kill those whom I disliked with mantra and tantra applications. I got intimacy with ghosts, ogres, and devils. I was conducting various activities in the burial ground. People used to shudder on hearing my name. Whenever I was going to any village, the people there used to give me lot of money with the fear that I may cause them troubles and losses by employing ghosts and devils. Major portion of that money was utilized for offering sacrifices to ghosts and devils, always depending upon me. If sacrifices were not offered in time, those evil spirits would severely harm me. Instead of placidity required in the face of normal people, depraved features and cruel nature of ghosts and devils developed in me. In my wanderings, once I came to Pithikapuram on account of my past punya. In that town rendered sacred by the incarnation of Lord Datta, there was no dearth of mean conspiracies and mutual wrangles. I heard strange and wonderful things about Sri Bapanaarya and Sri Sreepada. At first, I wanted to kill Bapanaarya. I went to a pond and began drinking 2 handfuls of water without break. I had many varieties of methods to kill a person. One of them is to drink water thinking deeply about the person to be killed. By this, all the water I drank will enter into the stomach of that person. Filled with water, the stomach gets bloated and bursts. Then the person dies. The leelas of Sri Sreepada are unimaginable. At the time I was drinking water, Sreepada was with Bapanaarya. Sri Sreepada lovingly stroked the stomach of Bapanaarya. Even though I was drinking much water, it was getting evaporated on account of the power of Sri Sreepada. I was exhausted after drinking water repeatedly, but Sri Bapanaarya remained safe and sound. I was worried as to why my black magic failed that day. The reason was not known. Removing the menace of worshippers of evil forces by Sreepada. I had controlling charm over snakes. If I recite it, snakes from all corners gather at the house of the individual whom I meditated upon. The snakes bite the person. I meditated on Bapanaarya and chanted that mantra. Then many serpents reached the house of Sri Bapanaarya. They climbed upon a wooden trellis in the house and dangled like snake-gored vegetables. After a short time, the snakes left for the places from where they came. In this way, my second attempt also failed. The devils and ghosts with me told me bluntly that they cannot go near the house of Shri Bapanaarya. I understood roughly all this as the sportive play of Sri Sreepada. As my demonic nature did not end, I went to the burial ground. There, I made an image of Sri Sreepada with flour and pierced 32 needles in 32 points. By this process of death, diseases should overtake in the body of Sri Sreepada in those points. Not only that, the needles should change into liquid form and sink into the body of Sri Sreepada. His whole body should be infested with poison and he should die. This attempt of mine had also failed. Curiously, during one midnight time, I experienced that excessive water was entering my stomach. It was death agony for me. All the snakes which reached the house of Shri Bapanaarya due to my snake charm entered my temporary residence in Pithikapuram and bit me. I was having pain in those places of my body exactly where I pierced needles into the floor image of Sri Sreepada. In this manner, I suffered from the reactions in my own body to my evil actions. I suffered like hell. I thought it was better to die, but I did not get death. The torments of hell will be known only after death, but I experienced those torments during night even when I was alive. When confronted with unbearable troubles, any person would turn towards God. I sought in my mind the refuge of Sri Sreepada. The form of Sri Sreepada appeared before my mental eye and he said, Bangarappa, you have to suffer troubles in this world for many years for your heinous sins, and you should also undergo many punishments in hell afterwards. However, taking mercy on you, I destroyed your sins in this one night. All your evil practices are destroyed. If anyone who is thirsty is visible to you in your mind, when you drink water and quench your thirst, the thirst of that person will assuage even though he is at a great distance. There is a yogic exercise in which one has to hang upside down. You will derive bliss if you practice it. To step into the house of my parents or into the house of Shri Bapanaarya, merit of many births is required. You don't have that luck in this life. Fortune is not something which comes suddenly. Misfortune is not something which is given indiscriminately. When the good deeds of past lives fructify at once, it is called good luck. When bad deeds yield results at once, it is called bad luck. As Parameshwara grants us life, he only has the authority to take our life. Since parents grant us birth, they deserve utmost adoration. I won't show my grace on those who neglect them in their old age. You subjected many innocent people to untimely death with your diabolical practices. The result of this sin will haunt you till you see a Kannada Brahmin known as Shankara Bhatta. When he is thirsty, you quench his thirst by using your skill. Then your sin becomes completely erased. That Shankara Bhatta writes my history. At the time of this incident, the age of Sri Sreepada was about 7 to 8 years. Dear Shankara Bhatta, I am waiting for you from that day. Today, it is an extremely good day for me. Bangarappa concluded his speech. For me, all this story was very confusing. Then I said, Sir, how can the thirst of another is quenched when you drink water? Please explain the secret of this. Then Bangarappa said, My boy, living creatures who dwell in the Annamaya Kosha have material influences and have experiences in the material world. Living creatures in Pranamaya Kosha have subtle body consciousness. Living creatures in Manomaya Kosha have connections with the mental world. Living creatures in the Vijnanamaya Kosha have connection with the related world. For the living beings in the Anandamaya Kosha, experience of bliss is available. By means of a yogic exercise, I coordinate my Pranamaya Shakti, that is the power of life force, with the Pranamaya Shakti of other living beings. By this and by the feeling of identity, this becomes possible. Through a certain yogic exercise in ancient times, Vali was getting double the strength of the person facing him. Therefore, Rama killed Vali from behind a tree. Sage Vishwamitra initiated Rama and Lakshmana into two sacred mantras called Bala and Atibala. If the life force is kept ready according to the vibrations of these mantras, one can attract the universal force into the innermost area of the universe, into his system. If the body is not pure, extreme pain will be felt at the time of entry of that force into our body. Not only that, unable to retain that force, one may even die. In the order of purity, there are 12 stages in human body. The body of Sri Rama belongs to the 12th stage. The body of Sri Datta is beyond stage 12 also. Therefore, Sri Sreepada, who is an incarnation of Datta, naturally has infinite strength, infinite knowledge, and infinite presence. Then I questioned, Sir, it is said that Ahalya became a stone from the curse of sage Gautama and that she was redeemed from the curse as soon as the dust from the feet of Sri Rama touched the stone. Had she really become a stone? Or is there any secret meaning in this? Then Bangarappa explained, You asked a good question. Indra was having connection only with the shadow form of Ahalya. Not knowing it, in great anger, sage Gautama cursed Ahalya to become a rock. Then Ahalya said to sage Gautama, You foolish Rishi, what a work you have done! Gautama lost his intelligence and became a lunatic. He was visiting many holy places and became healthy from the grace of Lord Shiva. In the evolution of consciousness, rock is the first position. Its soul would be in a lifeless state. There are many kinds in rocks. Soul in a certain rock is getting some reformation. After those experiences of reformation, that soul enters into another class of stone. In the first rock, which is empty, another soul enters. Only people with yogic vision can know how long a certain soul resided in a particular rock. Assume that when a soul is in a particular rock, the rock was broken into two. When one soul in one piece of the rock remains, another soul in the other broken piece remains. Both of the souls undergo some experiences. They do not know what sort of experiences they are undergoing, but when they are in the rock stage, that limitless pain of that soul they experience. They do not have life, but the experience of pain would still be there. Description of agonies experienced in different sources of birth by living beings. Then I questioned, Sir, pain or pleasure is experienced only when life is there. In such a case, how is it possible that a lifeless material undergoes unlimited pain? Then Bangarappa replied, When the individual soul exists in the Supreme Soul, it experiences divine bliss. It cannot be described through speech and it cannot be comprehended in the mind. In the same way, when the individual soul is in the rock, great sorrow as opposed to divine bliss is experienced. It also cannot be described by speech and cannot be understood in the mind. It is a great sorrow experienced when life is extinct. This soul wanders in many rocks and goes on experiencing inexplicable, unimaginable, lifeless, great miseries. In that manner, it enters metals. It moves in different kinds of metals and experiences life in a dormant state. Suppose you pour upon a metal some poisonous substance inimical to it. Life in that metal suffers in the dormant state and leaves that metal migrating to some other metal. Soul, which identified itself with metals, enters trees in the process of evolution. Life force, which was dormant when it was a lifeless material, now becomes active and will have an urge to stand erect or to take an inclining position. Its roots, which are meant to give it strength, pierce through the earth and facilitate its evolution. In this fashion, soul enters many kinds of trees and undergo many experiences. In this way, it would come out of the stage of 50% life and 50% lifelessness and evolve as worms and insects. In this stage, its urge for movement is fulfilled. In this manner, it undergoes many refinements as various worms and insects and take the shape of a fish. Then it takes the shape of a bird. After getting experience in the form of a variety of birds, it takes birth as a quadruped. It takes birth as a very sacred cow. As she gives milk to people like a mother, she earns punya even without knowing about it. It also cooperates as a buffalo in the production of food cereals. In the next birth, it takes human body. Under the influence of mental attitudes, thoughts generate. They then change into actions. In this fashion, virtuous deeds and sinful deeds are done. Inquiry about the 7 stages in the path of spiritual pursuit. Man will be in 7 stages in his evolutionary process. In the first stage, the organs of gross body and the organs of subtle body are used at the same time. In the second stage, he experiences the subtle world with the help of subtle body organs and gains the capacity to perform petty miracles. In the third stage, he acquires the capacity to travel long distances with subtle body. Between third and fourth stages, there exists an inveigling center. When inveigled, it remains in the same position as it remained originally. When Gautama cursed Ahalya, she was subjected to a severe shock. Then she felt that she was in the stone consciousness. She remained in that state till she saw Sri Rama. The body of Ahalya did not become a stone. Her mind only reached that stage. It means that she remained in the overpowering center between the third and the fourth centers. When the dust from the lotus feet of Sri Rama touched, her mental blossom began to bloom. She regained her natural state. For the soul which reached fourth state, very extensive yogic powers are endowed. If those yogic powers are used for the welfare of the world in accordance with the directions of the inner self, it becomes possible to ascend to elevated states. On the other hand, if these powers are used for sinful activities and mean selfish ends, a downfall is certain. It will fall into the rock consciousness. Afterwards, there will be no opportunity to step into human birth unless it passes through thousands of births. Those who are in the fifth stage are Sankalpa Jnanis. The Sankalpa Jnanis continue mundane activities while striving for the realization of God. Those in the sixth stage are Bhavajnanis, that are wise men having devotional ideas, and they have very little concern for worldly activities. Those who are in the seventh stage attain the wisdom of infinite position of the Supreme Self. Difference between divine incarnations and sadhakas, the spiritual seekers. After hearing the words of Bangarappa, some doubts crept in my mind. To clear them, I questioned thus: Sir, is the evolutionary process limited only to ordinary mortals, or will it apply to divine incarnations also? Then Bangarappa said, Incarnations come according to the needs of the time. If man becomes God, he is called Samartha Sadguru. If God comes as man, he is called an incarnation. A fish swims and moves quickly in water. A tortoise can move speedily both on earth and water. Boar means rhinoceros which runs quickly on the ground. Narasimha incarnation is with the countenance of a lion, the supreme one among animals, and the rest of the body is in the form of a man. Vamana incarnation with the nature of begging came essentially with the attribute of tamoguna, that is gloomy inertia. Incarnation of Parashurama came with the main attribute of rajoguna, that is aristocratic passion. Incarnation of Rama took place chiefly with the attribute of sattva, that is sobriety. Incarnation of Sri Krishna came principally as an attributeless one, transcending all the three qualities. Incarnation of Buddha is chiefly one of karma, that is ritual. The incarnation of Sripada Sreevallabha is a very distinct incarnation of the eon. It is an extremely excellent and an extraordinary unique incarnation containing in itself the unity in diversity and diversity in unity of the entire creation. There are no yogic traditions, religious or ethical regulations in the entire creation which do not owe their origin to Sri Sreepada. The stature of Sri Sreepada cannot be perceived by intellectuals, however great they might be. He is his own equal. All theories and traditions find synthesis in him. He is the first point and the last point for the entire creation. He is the one who supervises, who proposes, and who sets in motion all the affairs of the world which are pulsating in nature. This is a deep divine secret. In what way can I describe his position which is not comprehended even by 7 sages? My child, Shankara Bhatta, you are fortunate. Those who got his precious grace are fortunate beings. Others are a waste. Explanation of the results of good deeds and bad deeds. I questioned, Sir, I got a doubt. If he is the inspirer for all actions, why some are born as good people and why some others are born as bad people? For that, Bangarappa laughed loudly. My boy, you asked a good question. All creation is made with the aid of pair of opposites. If there is no fear of death, even his own mother will not love the child. In Vedas, the word Purusha was used to mean Atma, that is the soul, but not to suggest the superiority of males. There is as much difference between human dharmas and divine dharmas as there is difference between human dharmas and animal dharmas. If there are no pairs of opposites, there is no possibility for development of evolution. If it is said that God is omnipotent, it did not mean that only good powers are in him. Fraud, deceit, and violence which you witness in this world are a part of that omnipotency. Because of sorrow, we are yearning for happiness. Without the knowledge of misery, experience of comfort is not known. These crores and crores of stars seen by us are formed at first in an unorganized manner. When they collided with each other, some more stars formed. When this happened many a time, the well-organized groups of stars which are seen now are originated. The planets in our solar system are rotating round the sun in a well-established orbit. Dhruva planet is the support for sun. In this way, creation is going on with mutual attraction or repulsion. The one having attraction for God is becoming a theist and is performing good deeds. The one who is having revulsion is becoming an atheist and is doing bad deeds. He is the support for both theists and atheists. He is the prop for those who perform good deeds and bad deeds. Nothing is steady in this play of creation. Those whom you regard as good people today did bad acts in some births. That is why sorrow could not be avoided even though they are virtuous people in this life. It is nothing but the result of punya from the good deeds done in previous lives that enable bad people enjoy comforts. Either papa or punya do not yield results immediately, but a severe papa or a great punya gives results quickly. Good books relate the way in which a man should conduct himself to live happily. He is given a limited liberty to do a good thing or a bad thing. When unrighteousness overwhelms and righteous people remain in a forlorn state, God is incarnating with his Maya. It is a wonderful thing that God, who has no birth or death, takes incarnation as a human being and lives amidst us. Breaking the bubble of pride of Maharaja. The rulers of Pithikapura estate used to move incognito at times and elicit the living conditions of the people. The Maharaja had a desire to see Sripada Sreevallabha. Immediately, he sent his soldiers to the house of Appalaraja Sharma with an order. The gist of the order was that Appalaraja Sharma and Bapanaarya should bring Sripada to the presence of the Maharaja in the fort. Sri Sreepada rejected this insulting invitation. Appalaraja Sharma was also averse to step into the fort. A great personage like Sri Bapanaarya would not go anywhere unless dictated by conscience. Sri Bapanaarya asked Sri Sreepada, "My dear, my precious gold, have you any objection to go into the fort?" Sri Sreepada replied, "Granddad, Maharaja has no devotion. Seeing me is not so easy." Sri Sreepada told soldiers curtly, "If your Maharaja wants to see me, he can personally come here. He is a ruler merely for this estate. I am king of all kings and an emperor for the entire creation. I am the lord of all the worlds. Then I should not be approached with empty hands. A tribute must also be brought. If the king regards me as his guru, then he should also bring Guru Dakshina, that is, offering to the Guru." Sri Sreepada is skillful in creating problems. In the same way, he is dexterous in solving problems. Sri Bapanaarya, Appalaraja Sharma and Painda Venkatappaya Shreshthi were thinking about the consequences if the king becomes angry. Maharaja, on hearing the news from the soldiers, was violently shaking with rage. The king loudly cried, "Let me make it known to these weak Brahmins as to what happens to their lives if only I think about it. They do not know how much powerful I am." The moment he cried out like this, all his strength departed from his body and he became a weakling. He fainted with weakness. Servants performed all services, but he remained weak. In the meanwhile, an ugly, deformed female appeared in his mental vision. She roared, "I am Shakti! I am jumping into you!" and entered forcibly into him. He could not withstand the onslaught of that Shakti. He felt as if his bones were powdered. He cried in a low voice, "Go away at once from me." The king underwent hellish agony when Shakti was going out. In this way, Shakti was entering and exiting from the body of Maharaja. He was undergoing hellish agony through these two operations. Information was sent through the soldiers to the royal priest Kota Sundara Rama Sharma. He performed worship to self-manifested Datta and gave holy tirtha, that is water, chanted with mantra. After Raja applied Datta Vibhuti, that is holy ash, to his forehead, the movements of Shakti stopped. Then Sharma said like this, "Maharaja, have you seen? Our worship gives quick results. You wished for the darshana of Sripada. That is useless for you. There is Kalagnishamana Dattamurti in their house." On account of that worship, sundry small powers were earned by Appalaraja Sharma. Bapanaarya earned some powers from the practice of mantras. Then, Painda Venkatappaya Shreshthi is a Vaishya. He can purchase cheaply a good article by arguing it as a counterfeit one. He can also sell a counterfeit article by making us believe it as a genuine one. With fictitious fabrications, they are investing incredible powers to Sripada and doing his bhajan. Even though Narasimhavarma is a noble Kshatriya, he became a fool and is praising Sripada as an incarnation of Datta. You don't worry. Our practice of worship is very great. How dare they refuse the orders of a person like Maharaja? The Maharaja can bring Sripada here even if forcibly through coercion. The king, who heard these words and flattery, said feebly, "What shall I gain if I bring him here forcibly? Moreover, I would only get a bad name. I have a doubt that Sri Sreepada has got some techniques of black magic. Sreepada attacked me with a Shakti. Or else, why would the Shakti make a to and fro travel in my body? You have to show a solution to overcome it. You are our family priest and you always cherish our welfare." Then Sharma said, "Maharaja, Datta Purana has to be read devotedly by Brahmins. Worship has to be arranged to self-existent Datta. Feasts are to be arranged to Brahmins and they should be given generous monetary gifts. Food should be donated to all castes. If it is done like this, Datta will be pleased. Sripada would be checkmated. The trouble from evil spirits would be removed." The king made all necessary arrangements as per the request of the royal priest. There were many forests in the Pithikapura region. Menace of thieves was also great in Pithikapura. Thefts became rampant from the day of commencement of Parayana of Datta Purana. The king failed to stop them. There was an increase in the alarming dreams to the king. As if the remedy was worse than the disease, troubles increased. The king was seeing his ancestors in dreams. They appeared with weak and lean bodies and were like hungry beggars craving for food pitiably. They questioned, "You, why are you not offering food of annual ceremony for us? Have we to remain in the bodies of spirits? Are we not having noble positions?" The king said that he was performing obsequious ceremonies to them as laid down in scriptures. The ancestors said to the king, "You are doing okay, but they are not reaching us." Brahmins grew strong and satisfied in the name of obsequious ceremonies. When a Brahmin who practices rituals strictly and conduct the ceremonial rites with mantras, and when the person who performed the ceremony does it with care and diligence, then only it gives noble position to the mains. The king was not having any sleep during night with the cries and lamentations of his ancestors. This condition continued even when he closed his eyes or opened them. To compound his troubles, the marriageable daughter of the king was seized by ghosts. With disheveled hair, she was laughing frightfully and throwing away all the articles from the house. When sitting for meals, plenty of vermin was found in the food. Suddenly, clothes were catching fire. Whenever the king was coming to the place where Annadana, that is donation of food, was conducted, he was seeing deceased men and women of his dynasty with thin bodies and ghostly traits. The condition of the king was very pitiable. The circumstances in the house of Sundara Rama Sharma were also not better. His wife, who was calm and docile, was suddenly striking his head with cooking utensils. His son was tying him with a rope to a pillar. The daughter was spitting out on her father and giving blows on his face with her shoes. When Sharma requested for food, they were serving him with dried grass. If he was not eating it, they were threatening to burn him with red-hot iron rod. The Brahmins employed by Sharma, however, continued the Parayana of Datta Purana. After they finished meals on completion of Parayana for the day, ghosts, spirits, and ogres were moving freely in the house and terrorizing the inmates. Some women were laughing horribly and proclaiming, "The ancestors of the king, for whom you are the priest," without regarding other women as their mothers, raped them. "Those women are none other than us. We are those victims. They committed heinous crimes in not allowing us to live comfortably with our husbands. We want to take revenge on the family of the Raja. We don't get noble status when you merely give us obsequious offerings. You received large amounts of money from the king. You possess the tainted money. Therefore, we want to harass your families." Brahmins who were conducting Parayana, Sundara Rama Sharma and Maharaja also were very much frightened. All of them were remarking with anguish and sarcasm, "We heard that by devoted reading of Datta Purana, auspicious results are achieved. But what is this abnormality?" On reading this Purana, Shankara was pleased and is dancing fiercely along with his hordes of ghosts, spirits and devils. Reading of this Purana pleased Vishnu, and while denying meals to us, he is granting grace to those beggars who sought food. Brahma, who was pleased, created those who are harassing us with obscene and insulting words. Oh, if reading of Datta Purana will make us living corpses in this manner, where Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara, who are delighted, torture us with words, protect us without allowing us to die with the nature Vishnu, exhibit weird dancing arts to please devils, spirits and ghosts, O Lord, Such devotion of Datta is not required for many, many births. Man is a laborer in creation. Sripada is the one who gives wages. Then Brahmins, Sundara Rama Sharma and Maharaja surrendered to Sri Sreepada and sought his refuge. Then Sripada averred, "Every human being in this creation is only a laborer. I am the owner. If I am pleased, I will give more wages than those due to you. If I am displeased, I will reduce how much amount is to be reduced and give that balance. I am the self-manifested Datta in the temple. I am the one in the form of Kalagni Shamana Datta. I came in the form of Sripada Sreevallabha out of compassion for living beings. How can you derive any result if you give lighted camphor offering to my face, but drive nails in my feet? Whom do you think are my parents? Vishnu Datta and his wife of this Datta Purana are born in this Kali Yuga as my parents Appala Raja Sharma and Sumati Maharani. Shri Bapanaarya was born as Labha, son of Shri Vigneshwara in one age. In another age as Labha the Maharshi and as Bhaskaracharya in Brihatshila town. His lineage is revered by those born in Vaishya caste. It is a part of divine plan that I was born on Ganesha Chaturthi. The bond of indebtedness with Shri Painda Venkatappaya Shreshthi from the time of incarnation as Vasavi Kanyaka Parameshwari, the bond of indebtedness with Narasimha Varma in my form of Lord Narasimha in Simhachala Kshetra are everlasting. As they are really pious, they got connection with me in this incarnation. Their love and affection binds me in birth after birth. When I incarnate as Narasimha Saraswati, I will be born with exact resemblance of my maternal grandfather, Shri Bapanaarya. Just as he is redeeming ghosts and spirits by sprinkling water from his copper pot, I will drive away ghosts and spirits troubling my devotees who visit my Gandharva Nagara during my incarnation as Narasimha Saraswati. I will grant noble position to those ghosts and spirits. One should not be arrogant simply because he is wealthy. The wealth with you should have purity of money. Otherwise, you will have sorrows. If you are proud that you are holy, you are not at all holy. I have your account with me. I am telling that I cancelled the results of your sinful deeds out of compassion. If you are discouraged that you are a sinner, and if you seek my refuge and call me with love, Sripada Datta, Sreevallabha Digambara, I will in a trice burn all your sins and make you virtuous. As you have considered truth as untruth and untruth as truth, you met with all difficulties. You have abused Sripada Sreevallabha, and because of that, you were entangled in strange and peculiar problems. Even though you conducted devoted reading of Datta Purana, it has not given you any relief. Datta himself has come as Sripada Sreevallabha. This is true. Victory, victory to Sri Sreepada Sreevallabha. Here ends the 15th chapter of Sripada Sreevallabha Charitaamritham.
दत्त दिगंबर दैवत माझे दत्त दिगंबर दैवत माझे हृदय माझा नित्य विराजे दत्त दिगंबर दैवत माझे हृदय माझा नित्य विराजे दिगंबर दैवत माझे अनसूयेचे सत्व आगणे अनसूयेचे सत्व आगणे तीन्ही देव ही झाली बाळे त्रैमूर्ती अवतार मनोहर त्रैमूर्ती अवतार मनोहर दीनोद्धारक त्रिभुवनि गाजे दत्त दिगंबर दैवत माझे दत्त दिगंबर दैवत माझे तीन शिरे कर सहा शोभती हास्य मधुर शुभ वदनावरती तीन शिरे कर सहा शोभती हास्य मधुर शुभ वदनावरती जटाजूट शिरी पायी खडावा भस्म विलेपित कांती साजे दत्त दिगंबर दैवत माझे दत्त दिगंबर दैवत माझे पाहुनी प्रेमळा सुंदर मूर्ती पाहुनी प्रेमळा सुंदर मूर्ती आनंदाचे आसू झरती सारे सात्विक भाव उमलती हळूहळू सरते मी फण माझे दत्त दिगंबर दैवत माझे हृदयी माझा नित्य विराजे दत्त दिगंबर दैवत माझे दत्त दिगंबर दैवत माझे दत्त दिगंबर